Windaroo Lakes Golf Club is situated between Brisbane and the Gold Coast, adjacent to the Albert River. Residential and industrial development and land clearing in the catchment area have deteriorated the water quality of the Albert River, particularly in its lower reaches. Dave Morrison is the course superintendent.
Been in this club for 6 years now.
Yeah.
Before that I was at a place called Hills International College. I was there for 10 years. It was basically a private school with an 18-hole golf course that had a golf academy in place. Basically when I got here, the greens here were heavily infested with the disease ERI. I had never dealt with that disease before. I'd heard about it. It was a disease that was rapidly moving its way through the golf courses, especially in the cooch varieties. So it was new to me, and I thought, well, I've got a challenge here straight up. The guys that employed me said they had issues with that disease for a while and they weren't having any success with it. So straight away that was my first challenge, and we just put a plan in place and we did some soil tests and found our pHs were really low and just started working on soil amendments. And over the years, probably 6 to 12 months, that disease was eradicated, and as today through our programs we haven't had any issue with that disease. So it was obviously a pH and soil issue, and we just made those changes as required.
A few years ago, Dave became concerned about weeds choking and strangling the adjacent riparian zone of the Albert River and the course waterways. He was also concerned about the water quality of the lake system on the course, and was keen to ensure that the water that returned to the river system was of better quality than that received from the river. To that end, he approached the local Logan Council for grant money to assist his efforts. The aim was to clean up the balloon or heartseed vine and lantana weeds which were strangling the native trees along the river's edge.
Yeah, this is one of the trees that's heavily strangled, and you can see just further down there's another tree just totally covered. We've cleared this. Yeah. This area is where we'll be doing some revegetation, replanting. You can just see this glycine trying to come back again. And it's come back, and you can see further down on the next lot of trees where the treatments worked. You can see that vine dying. This tree in front of us here, that was smothered, and we've removed a lot of that vine.
Physical removal as well as some chemical control was the answer.
Basically we will just cut at the base of that vine, and as you can see some of the old stuff there that has died, and then we pull that vine out. Trying to do it on top of maintaining a golf course, especially in the warmer months. That's our peak growing season, and that takes all our time up just maintaining the golf course. The next couple of months those maintenance practices drop off due to the cooler weather, so we can concentrate on finishing this project.
Some of the lakes on the course itself were being choked with water primrose, which can be problematic where high nutrient levels occur. Floating stems can grow up to 4 metres in length and become a tangled mess.
Primrose was basically had smothered 3/4 of this lake. Red azolla was also in here. Yep. This water cooch, or this grass we noticed, wasn't too bad in this lake. It was worse in the other lake on 6. Mm-hmm. We found with this grass it virtually floated on top. So
this cooch sort of grass, okay,
the way we removed that, we basically took a rope out with like a big anchor on it, and just dragged it into the side of the bank, because as I said, it just seems to float.
Just tear it out.
It's
like a lily, but just cooch.
By the time, depending on the size, by the time we got to the bank, it was quite heavy. But then we just used one of our front end loaders and removed it. So we had great success removing all that cooch that way, especially on the lake on 6. That was heavily infested with it. Yeah, well, this is the water primrose that was in this lake over a year ago. It was heavily infested throughout the lake, and we had great success spraying it out. but as you can see, just along the edges here, there's a bit more coming in. But what we've done over the last 12 months, where it pops, it does pop up again, we just come out and just spot spray it just before it gets out of control again. So we've had success so far. So yeah, we'll be back shortly just to clean up this new growth that's coming in.
The Albert River's water quality received a poor rating in 2012. Dave felt he needed to be responsible for the quality of the water leaving the Course Lakes system.
Part of our water management program is we test the water that comes into the first point where it comes into the golf course and where it leaves the golf course before it enters the river. So we carry out testing on the water twice a year, and this where we are here is basically where it comes in. We just keep record of the data to prove that the water is good quality water as it leaves the golf course and enters the Albert River.
As well as nutrient runoff from the course, an ibis bird colony was depositing droppings into the lake. The club has tackled the problem in two ways. The first with an aeration system to allow for oxygen exchange at the water surface and the release of noxious gases. The second was to remove the ibis colony nesting in a large bamboo forest on a small island in the middle of one of the lakes on the course.
Yeah, well, this is what we call Ibis Island, Daryl, and this is one of the other projects in relation to our water management. We just had this massive bamboo plantation, home to over 250 ibises at time. That was a nesting ground for them. I felt that, with them nesting and the amount of rubbish and damage they can do, we decided to try to move them on. We got in contact with a company called EcoSure, who came out, spoke to us about it, and their words were, this would be fairly straightforward to move the ibises on. We'll just, once we remove the bamboo, that should remove the ibises. So the first thing we had to do was basically have an egg and nest removal, which EcoSure, the company, were in charge of that. They supervised us cutting the bamboo out, so they came in and removed eggs and nests. As soon as they were removed, we cut the bamboo down. So nearly over 8 or 9 months it took us to physically remove that bamboo by hand. And basically we got chainsaws over there, we cut it and dragged it across, had a tract on the bank here with a long rope and just pulled it straight out. And what we'll do here now is we'll replant with some native grasses. You can actually see some turtles on the bank there at the moment.
That's great.
So we just want to have another nice little nesting playground for turtles, still some bird life. And we've removed a pretty awful smell that used to come out of that that plantation.
Would have been dense bamboo. Even just eradicating the smell and just, there would have been a number more ibises out there, I'd imagine.
Well, they just keep hatching. They just keep hatching. They every 20 odd days they're chicks there and away they go. So they are a protected bird, but they are a pest.
Your fountain here is pumping away all right?
Yeah, no, we've put this in over a year ago now, and basically that's virtually where we pump from. That's got our foot valves there. So one of the reasons he's sitting there obviously with the aeration right exactly the point where we pump from. This lake also, over time, we've seen algae build up in it. So having that fountain just agitates that surface enough that keeps the algae at bay. And yeah, it's just part of our program with the water.
So actually, visually it looks good as well, doesn't it? In the lake, they're pumping away.
Oh, for sure. It's a nice par 3 here, and you stand on the tower and look across, and you just see that feature. It's you see them on a lot of courses now, and besides what they're designed to do, it's visually it's a great feature.
Yeah.